Hey everybody, welcome to Leon's Chainsaw Parts and Repair. We're looking at Gerald's McCulloch Power Max 6. And with how much I enjoy working on these little saws, note my sarcasm, I don't know how I keep getting so many of them. Probably because there aren't, I'm going to assume, and that's dangerous, but I'm going to assume that there aren't that many videos out there on Power Max 6s. And every one I put up just puts my name a little higher up on the list. But, I don't know, kind of half-ass getting the hang of these things. So this saw, he had put a carburetor kit in and couldn't get it to run right. So we're just going to take it down. Oh, McCulloch, you piss me off so much. We're going to take it down and see what we've got to work with. And I'm remembering a few little quirks of these things. Yeah. There we go. Newer air filter, that looks nice. Homelight very rarely, I won't say never because that's not the case, but they very rarely put nuts behind their screws. See that? There is here. And this is your intake back here. So these saws, even though they look similar to a Mini Mac, they are not by any stretch of the imagination the same. But in order to get to the carburetor, you got to get the starter off. In order to get the starter off, you got to get the handle assembly off. So I actually prefer the Mini Mac design to this design, personally. In terms of serviceability, it's just a smidge easier, in my opinion, for what that is or isn't worth. Get this apart a little bit. I do want to test the spark, just on pure principles, because I'd hate to have this thing all put back together and find out, whoops, you missed something. Not that that's ever happened before, right? Okay. Should be noted, this is an excessively clean saw. And this thing is beautiful. Oh, you know, I forgot. There we go. God, maybe I didn't need to take those off. That's what I get for saying I was starting to figure out what I was doing. I actually don't think I did. A dipstick. I'm going to put those back. I forgot that they had that slip handle. There were a lot of versions of this Power Mac. A lot of refinements along the way. The very original version had a cast handle. So where this is sticking out, the handle was just cast out of that. And there was no extra support anywhere. Now, pretty soon it was realized that it was real easy to break that well, not real easy, I don't want to exaggerate, but you could break that casting, and if it broke while you were holding it, all of a sudden you're one-handing the saw. So when they had that form design, they developed a stopgap. There was just a strap that came down here for extra support, and then the final revision was that aluminum style. Handle that just slipped over here, and I forgot that it just secures with that one screw at the bottom. So we'll just put all this back together so that nothing gets lost. Come on, baby. Come on. Then I'm wasting time. Some of these screws have been replaced, but It works, so I'm not going to mess with that. What we want is for the saw to run. Alright, get back to doing smart things, I hope. Get this starter housing out of the way. Now when we get in here, I'll show you, these have kind of a unique design with the fuel hose. And that is not an available item. I mean, every once in a while they appear new old stock on eBay, but don't throw one away and don't assume it's bad until it's broken in half. I mean, I have some ideas on how you might be able to make this work, but I've never had to enact them. And I don't want to start, because there will be unintended consequences, almost certainly. I'll show you what I mean when we get in here. Knock it off. Alright. Okay. So that's your fuel hose right there. And that barb, or nipple, or whatever the hell you want to call it, simply slips into the carburetor right here. Now, that can shrink and leak, but there's a number of things you can do. I've sealed these with MotoSeal. It does work. And that would be my recommendation. Unless your hose is broken, just do something to seal it up. Don't try and screw around with replacing it. Now, if you want to, I think you could make a fuel hose that would work. Put a grommet in here. Take some, this is a small enough engine, I would use the 3/32 by 3/16 fuel hose. Put a standard filter in the tank instead of the wick pad that's in here, because that's the other end of this hose, is attached to one of those wick felt, whatever you want to call them, pads. But get all that crap out of there, put a standard filter in, and then put a sleeve of 1/8 by 1/4 fuel hose over the top of your 3/32 by 3/16, and I think that would put a real nice fit in there. Again, I haven't done it. I'm not going to do it unless I come to a hose that's destroyed, but that's the idea I have in mind, should I ever come to that. But again, we're not worried about that today, so let's worry about the carburetor. You want to be careful with this intake boot and try not to destroy it. Now, okay, I could have left that off and taken this out of the way entirely. This is still flexible enough, I feel okay about just kind of undoing everything right here. So your carburetor and coil are held in place by the same screws. And just like a Mini-Mac, these should have a nylon insert in them, in the hole, that keeps the screw threads from damaging the casting in the carburetor. At least that's my assumption as to why they used them. Everyone has had them. And they even have insulators right up top there too. So try not to lose that stuff. Okay, the coil, we're going to attempt to just set aside. Get, should have gotten it loose from the spark plug already. Okay, that should give it enough room to slip forward. Yeah, and out of the way. So there are those inserts I was telling you about. Get those out. And I've got to remember what contortion it takes to get throttle linkage. Okay. There's the final insert. very careful with these gaskets. They're also getting harder to find. Although there are some reproduction on eBay, if I remember correctly, that are decent enough quality. Okay, and here's our carb. You'll note that the choke doesn't have to come off, and neither does that cover plate. So just kind of leave that all together, unless you have a reason to mess with it. And if you do, be careful, because that is plastic, and I have a feeling that much like the plastic piece on the PowerMac 310 that likes to break and, you know, you're screwed, I have a feeling that would be the same way. So this is an MDC carburetor. The only difference that I know of between this and the Mini-Mac version is that style fuel inlet. So, now that's an interesting thought. If a guy was really hell-bent on changing stuff out, you could probably, if you could find one, find a used Mini-Mac carburetor cover. Even though it's going to have that massive fuel barb on it, that might be one way to change out and do away with this compression style setup all the way. But then how would you get your starter off? You see, there's a reason they designed it this way. Because that tank is captured in the starter. I mean, it's part of the starter. It's a sealed assembly. So you would almost have to leave enough hose in the tank that you could pull this out, reach in, disconnect. I mean, there's a reason these are built the way they are. I would sooner try something like I talked about earlier. Okay, I already see the problem, folks. This is going to be an easy one. This happens all the time. And I think part of it is the drawings on the web are just not that great. Gasket and diaphragm are reversed. Remember, your diaphragm, that piece on the bottom, get the... That's got... Oh, jammed up there. Come on, don't tear. There we go. So your gasket is literally just that. Just a gasket. Diaphragm is this material here. Those two flaps. This is going to be jacked up. Oh, that pattern. Hopefully that didn't set too badly. The world is trying to demonstrate this is going to be difficult because it said, damn it. These two, I'll hold it as best I can, but it's trying to wrinkle here. Okay. These are valves. That's what those flaps are for. It's what I'm going to control fuel coming in and vacuum pulse, or pulse from the engine. That's why those have to move, and they have to seal to the flat portion of the carburetor. This circuit plate, that's not flat. When this is installed against that, those flappers can't do their job. So, diaphragm gasket. Now, I know it gets difficult because when you go to the other side of this, it's the exact opposite. You want your gasket down on the block and then your diaphragm above it. So that part's right. That needle's moving, so I think everything's good there. This may have been just as simple as a reverse on the gaskets, but I see this so often. And again, it doesn't help that it's not consistent from side to side, but you've got to think about what it is, what the carburetor's trying to do. And if all else fails, everybody's got a phone these days that can take some pretty good pictures. Carefully take stuff apart and take some pictures as you go. If worst comes to worst, that'll save you some hassle. Okay. This may be a quicker repair than I thought. Which doesn't hurt my feelings. Okay, get everything snug and then go back and do a final tighten. But again, don't get carried away. Those aren't big screws. They don't have to have 80 foot-pounds of torque on them. Alright, now as I recall, excuse me, getting this back on is kind of a pain in the ass. Get a hold of the throttle rod so that you can slip it back on. Well, we know what that was. Son of a bitch. I've never had one of those choke knobs blow off like that. Cover plates here. Shit. Looks like I'm going on an Easter egg hunt in this garage for that part. Wish me luck. Okay, boy, that was horseshit. Thankfully it was aimed down. Found the spring in here and dug this out of the trash can over here. So the reason I've never had that happen is because it isn't supposed to happen. There's an ever so tiny hex head set screw down in there. It is smaller than any hex key I have. I can't do well, hold on. Maybe I found a smaller one. Thought I looked through all my sets. That'd be fortuitous. There's our big word of the day. I'll be gosh. Alright. I lied. I do have a hex head that small. But I have never had one of those explode like that before. So that's certainly something I'm going to remember. I didn't think I was going to find that stuff. But I tried to use a little logic. I didn't hear it go skittering across the garage. I didn't hear, you know, the rattle-tattle-tattles, so... Knew it had to be a soft landing somewhere, but when you start looking around this place, there's a lot of places for a soft landing. So, we'll chalk it up to good luck. Unlike that nut for the Double Eagle 80 clutch. God knows where the hell that is. I'm honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't look at it. Maybe it was never there. I don't know. I just don't like seeing the clutch go rolling across the bench from a rev to 8,000 RPM or whatever I was doing. Okay. Get our coil set. This just fits over that throat, and it'll snap down into place when you get it. There we go. It's another situation where you gotta have that, because if you're drawing air from directly in here, you're gonna be sucking sawdust, dirt, and trash, and it's gonna destroy your saw right quick and in a hurry. Oh yeah. Let's do that again. I do want to get that spark plug out, which I don't think is, I don't know, I'm just sight challenged today. That is a tapered seat plug, that's good. Let's do a quick spark test. I think that's a 9/16. Yep. Off. On. All right. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. What's hitting what? What the hell's going on here? That should not be. Oh, is there some debris down here on the magnet? The frick? Oh, dumbass. These carburetors have very little clearance. So you gotta, or the clearance between the flywheel and this carburetor screw, you gotta hold that screw so it goes back towards the back of the saw. Otherwise it'll rub. There we go. Dummy. I knew that, and I just forgot. Alright, take 2 on spark test. Okay. She's a sparking. So we ought to be able to put this together and just run it. That spark test was almost unnecessary, but again, it's the times that you don't. You get a saw all put back together, and you realize you missed that. And you just go, why the hell, when I had it apart, didn't I take the 5 minutes and do it right? Okay. So, I really would have preferred that this hadn't blown up on me. Because now I got to remember. God, I think the spring was under the plate, wasn't it? That would make sense. What a goofy ass design. Okay. Yeah, that's how it was. Come on, you sucker. Am I right on this, or am I 180 off? Choke is that way. Nope, I was right. Okay. Get this tight so that it doesn't explode again. Although the funny part is it wouldn't do that with the starter in place. That spring is keeping the plate up tight to the starter here. Yeah. Okay. Well, until I know there's a problem with that fuel hose, I'm not going to do anything with it. Okay, there we are. Let's restart it all the way around. I do like it when a repair goes fairly easily. Not too much drama. Although shooting that spring, that would have the potential to end badly. No idea what the availability of those parts is on eBay. Okay. Yep, there we go. You can learn from my mistake. Don't start taking the throttle handle loose, because you're not going to get anywhere. Okay. Let's see what we can get. Keep your fingers crossed. That's already taken too many pulls. Come on. Okay. Well, we know the carburetor's good, but that puddle of fuel right there tells the tale. That barb has shrunk. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull it apart, clean it up, dry it out. I'll probably have to let it sit in front of the fan. It's so bloody cold out here today. Let it really evaporate good. Where's my... I'll be staring right at it. There we go. Do what I've done before. I'm going to use some Moto Seal. You don't want to put it on the carb itself if you can avoid it. You want to go back from the tip of the barb an 1/8 of an inch or so. Put a nice bead back there. Way it goes together, seals to the carb, but there's no chance of it getting inside the carburetor. So that's how I'm going to solve that. But otherwise, Gerald, we're going to have a runner for you right quick here.